What a beautiful day. Thank you all for being with us. My name is Susan Koch, and I'm the Chancellor here at the Springfield campus of the University of Illinois. I'm delighted to welcome you to our campus today to this dedication of this UIS residential simulation lab. I want to extend a special welcome to our mayor, who's standing right behind me, I hope, because he's speaking next, and also to DCFS Director George Sheldon and Victor Veith, founder and director of the National Child Protection Training Center. It's great to have all of you with us today. I want to especially take a moment to offer my sincere thanks to Professor Betsy Goulet, and she is also right back here. Many of you here, yes, a little applause would be good. Thank you. I want to thank Betsy for her dedication to this project. I know many in this audience know Betsy, and you know that this project is happening because of her. We all know that it is her expertise, her creativity, her perseverance, her diplomacy, her dedication to improving the professional preparation of students as well as investigators and law enforcement that has made it possible for us to be here today. Someone asked me earlier this morning, what I thought when Betsy came to me and said, "I want that house." And, my answer was, well, I know Betsy. If she wants the house, she can have the house. So she's got the house. So Betsy, I'm very grateful for your leadership. As many of you know, this project represents so well what our campus and the entire University of Illinois is really all about: transforming lives and serving society. And here at UIS, we do that in an environment where students really have an individualized opportunity to advance their skills and really experience a hands-on environment. And that's exactly what's already happening with this project. This partnership between the University of Illinois and the Illinois Department of Children and Family Services is so very important because it serves and protects the most vulnerable of our citizens, children. As Chancellor, I'm both proud of this project and grateful for this partnership, and I really look forward to the impact that it is going to have in the coming years. So again, thank you for being here, and I'm going to turn it over to Mayor Langfelder. Mayor?
Thank you, Chancellor Cook, and I can speak volumes with regards to UIS transforming lives, as I'm an alum and had a great education here, and we appreciate the leadership that UIS has put forward in our community, especially in this occasion. It's my understanding that this is one of two in the nation. So the University of Illinois Springfield has put Springfield on the map again, and we really appreciate all their efforts, especially for protecting those that need it the most, and that's the children of our society. I come from a large family. My sisters are in teaching. One's a speech therapist helping low and moderate income children, and she hears the stories, and this is near and dear to my heart. So I really applaud all the individuals involved, especially Dr. Goulet and DCFS and University of Illinois in Springfield for coming together for this partnership that will help our community grow and heal in the prospect. And what I'd like to do is turn it over to Chief Winslow, because he's done a phenomenal job with regards to community policing. It's really relationship building within our society, and I'd like to have him say a few words on what this means to the city of Springfield in that regards. Chief?
Good morning. Again, just another opportunity to expand our skills, knowledge, and abilities. Having a place like this to train officers, hopefully in the future, as well as DCFS investigators and multidisciplinary teams to work together to protect our children, it's only going to help all of us. As training goes, scenario-based training, in my opinion, is the best type of training, because you're putting those people in those scenarios and you're seeing how they respond, and they're getting hands-on training right then and there. So I look forward to the partnership with DCFS as well as UISS moving forward, and an opportunity to hopefully someday train even our officers here. So thank you for your time.
I'm George Sheldon. I'm the director of the Department of Children and Family Services here in Illinois. As some of you know, I came here about a year ago from Florida, and I'm responsible for today's weather. I particularly want to thank the mayor and the chief for their comments, because If I've learned anything in my experience in child abuse and neglect, really dealing with is not a DCFS issue, it's a community issue. And the extent to which the community comes together, we can really make a difference in children and families' lives. That's what this is all about. But I particularly want to thank the Chancellor because I know when Betsy came to her a year or two ago and said, I want that house, I think the Chancellor basically thought that maybe Betsy needed a little mental health counseling. Is that really the house you want? But in talking just recently to the Chancellor, she also recognizes how tenacious Betsy is in terms of getting things done. And that's how I met her, was in the halls of the legislature talking about this simulation lab. And with the support of Senator Gutowski, who wanted to be here today, this became law. But I think it also was something that was embraced by the department. Mike and Nora are here from the department, from operations, and really recognize that this kind of hands-on experience is really critical. I also want to thank Judge Malik, retired judge, who's been providing his volunteer services in the simulation, in a simulated courtroom, and a former Assistant State Attorney, Cheryl Essenberg, because the governor and I had a chance a couple weeks ago to walk into one of the sessions that was being held in the courtroom. And literally, frankly, Judge, the courtroom's nicer than some courtrooms that I've been in. And they really did a good job. But it really was a real-life experience for these new hires. You were examining the young woman who's brand new to protective investigations. The judge was asking questions. The witnesses, who are two actors from the medical school, were acting like, you know, parents or mother and boyfriend, and spouting off during the hearing. And into the back of the room walked the governor and me. And this poor protective investigator, you know, talk about being really anything can happen in a courtroom. But I also have to say she really stepped up to the plate, did a remarkable job. And afterwards, we had an opportunity to talk to these individuals who have just come to work for the department. And what they articulated, that was the most real experience they've had. And it really puts a face on Child Protective Services. And as the governor and I drove over to this house, he said, you know, I never fully understood what a protective investigator did until today. Because a protective investigator for this agency will walk into this house, knock on the door at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, without a gun, without a badge, without a radio, saying, I'm here to take your child away. It's not the best of all experiences, but I think it is very critical that they understand how to get into the house, how to really not be confrontational, to look at things in the house in terms of what can be done. And I think that this partnership that we have is so critical, and I really compliment the University of Illinois at Springfield for allowing this to happen. But let me just say one thing at the close. This is not an exact science. Your state attorney understands that. And no matter how good we get as an agency or as a culture, something bad still may happen. It's got to be our goal to prevent that. So we establish checklists. But ultimately, it's about the training, the experience, the judgment of individuals on the front line, and they make those judgments every day. They've got to recognize that this child needs to be treated as they would like their own child treated. And that's an important factor, that training needs to be more than just a textbook. It needs to be learning real-life experiences in a real-life situation. That's what this house does, and that's what the simulation in the courtroom does. And I think in doing this, and this is one of 2 in the country, but I think you will begin to see that this kind of simulation training can really make a difference in the quality of the services that we provide. Because ultimately, we recognize that children may only be 25% of our population, but they're 100% of our future. That's why we're doing this. Thank you very much.
Good morning. I'm not going to speak right now. I'm going to introduce Victor Veith, who is doing 2 things today. He's here because he's the reason I'm here. He's the reason I ever learned that our front line was not sufficiently trained. So he's here to be a part of our dedication as the founder of the National Child Protection Training Center out of Minnesota. He's also here conducting our CAST site review today. So I've been just a little frazzled that we're going through an accreditation process also today. So you're on your best behavior. Please, if he speaks to you, speak highly of the program. Don't let us down. So I'd like to introduce Victor, who has a few words about where this all started.
Two weeks into my career as a prosecutor, I was asked to litigate a termination of parental rights case. The most dramatic moment of that trial came when I had a young social worker on the witness stand, and he was grilled by the defense attorney about all the things that he did wrong. And one of the things that he did wrong is he removed a baby from the home. And under Minnesota law, a social worker does not have that authority, only a law enforcement officer does. So as the defense attorney grilled him on this and other errors, he lost control of his emotions. He began to cry, and he said, I walked into the house, there was garbage everywhere, there was a baby on the floor, the baby was covered with maggots. I didn't know what I was supposed to do. None of us in that case knew what we were supposed to do. Not the judge, not the public defender, not me, the prosecutor, not the social workers, not the doctors, not the nurses, not the psychologists. For all of us, it was on-the-job training. And it has been that way throughout the history of our country's child protection system. A number of studies say that, on average, your child protection professional at the undergraduate or graduate level receives somewhere between 1 to 4 hours of training on how to respond to a report of child maltreatment. And that training is usually a book chapter or a PowerPoint lecture or 2. It is not the hands-on experiential sort of training that you need and the children's lives you're entrusted with depend upon. The United States Department of Health and Human Services says that nationwide, the more egregious, think about this, the more egregious a case of child abuse is, the less likely it is to be successfully investigated. And according to that research, a primary reason is inadequate training. A study published a year ago in the Journal of Pediatrics found that in this country, half of doctors miss the most egregious, the most obvious signs of physical abuse. And the reason is inadequate training. A study from the American Psychological Association of accredited graduate programs in the United States found that almost all of them were falling far short of educational standards promulgated by the APA in 1993 for minimal levels of competence in counseling a survivor of child maltreatment. A study from South Carolina found that the ability of detectives responding to child abuse, their ability to get confessions, their ability to obtain corroborating evidence is directly correlated with their education beginning at the undergraduate level. As a result of all of this research, the United States Department of Justice, in a national report on addressing family violence, said that all, and they literally used the word all universities must dramatically improve undergraduate and graduate training for all professionals entering a field where they will handle cases of child protection. The Child Advocacy Studies curriculum now being taught at the University of Illinois, Springfield, is the most intensive child protection curriculum in the United States. It is currently being offered at only 37 universities in 21 states. Research forthcoming from the University of South Carolina Upstate has found that if you graduate with this degree, you will go into your child protection career with the sort of knowledge it will otherwise take you at least 5 years of on-the-job training to acquire. But as good news as that is, it wasn't enough for Dr. Goulet or Chancellor Koch or your DCFS director or the criminal justice professionals here of Springfield. You wanted to go to a much higher level. You wanted to not only build this simulation laboratory, there's only 6 of them in the country, there's only 2 standalone facilities like it, but you wanted to make sure that folks who had already graduated, who were already in the field, were able to access this sort of high-quality training. So through a partnership with this university and the state DCFS office, professionals already in the field, child protection workers, law enforcement, and others are able to come here for this realistic simulated exercise, the closest to real life as possible. I wish I could put you in my pocket and travel with me across the country. I've been in 6 states in the last 7 days. I'll get home tonight, and later on this week I go to New Jersey and Toronto and New York, and everywhere I go people are talking about Springfield. Is it really true that they've implemented CAST? Is it really true they're implementing a simulation lab at this level? Is it really true that they have a contract for social workers to come back to school? I tell them it is true. And I'm going to post it on Facebook in just a minute. One of my heroes is Dietrich Bonhoeffer. He was a Lutheran minister executed by the Nazis because of his opposition to the government. For some time, he was housed at Tegel prison in Berlin. Every night at the prison, it was known as the terrible time. It was at nighttime that Allied bombs would land on the city, sometimes accidentally strike the prison, injure, even kill the men warehoused there. It was at nighttime that Nazi guards would take men from their cells, beat, torture, even execute them. So every night when the sun set at Tegel, the men would go to the edges of their cells, they would grasp the bars. From man to man, cell to cell, they would repeat the refrain, "Till the night be past, pray for me. Till the night be past, pray for me." Tonight in Springfield, all across Illinois, all across the country, for many children, nighttime is the terrible time. It's at nighttime that many children are beaten or shaken to death. It's at nighttime that many children are violated sexually. It's at nighttime that many children go to bed hungry. They cry themselves to sleep, they live, they move, but they have no being. These are the shadow children of our country. Boys and girls, young and younger, who from the corners of their room ask us simply, is it safe to come out now? The University of Illinois Springfield, in partnership with frontline child protection professionals, are dedicated to the proposition we should answer this question, yes. Yes, it is safe to come out now. For who you are, for what you do, for what you are about to do, I'm forever in awe.
I'm Susan Evans. I'm with the Office of Professional Development at DCFS. I've been with DCFS for 24 years. I'm a prior investigator for almost 14, and I've been a trainer for 10, and the primary focus of my training has been child protection. Along with Dr. Goulet, I had the privilege of meeting her about 19 months ago, and we began revamping the child protection curriculum with the idea of using the simulation lab. In training, we do a lot of didactic training and a lot of role playing, which everybody knows isn't very effective. And we have a lot of cases from the Office of Inspector General, which are cases that unfortunately things occur, like Director Sheldon said, sometimes with our best efforts, children still get harmed, and sometimes our efforts aren't the best that they could or should be. So we have a lot of cases that we use, but this case in particular that came to our attention several years ago from the Office of Inspector General is called the Caleb Thomas case. And when Dr. Goulet and I were rewriting the curriculum, we decided that we would take the case and we would, in the 6-week training, let the investigators work the case as if it was a real investigation for them, because this was a real investigation. Caleb is not his real name, but it's a tragic story because on many levels, Caleb was being abused by people who should have been caring for him, and then the system failed Caleb. We had him in our sights, we had an investigation, and through a series of mishaps and a series of errors and common missteps that happen in child protection, Caleb died a few months after our involvement. And the workers now don't know the Caleb Thomas outcome of the case. They're able to work the case from the beginning, and then at the end of the training, the 6 weeks, when they've gone through courtroom testimony and we win shelter care, they are able to see how when we follow procedure, when we use our judgments, when we use our supervisors, when we slow down and take the time to truly investigate what's going on and ask those difficult questions, work with law enforcement, work with the doctors, that children can have a better outcome. So as we wrote the training, it would tear us up that every time we've been using the case for a while, but we're trudging up this little soul that died on our watch, and there's many other children as well. So we decided to plant this tree in Caleb's name and honor. Betsy and I both wrote a letter to Caleb in his real name, and we burnt the letter and we're going to put it in the soil, but just so that his death wasn't in vain, and that no other child who died on our watch, or no other child who's being harmed right now, that we will do better, and that his death was not in vain. And this house is a promise of that to come. So that's what we're doing.
Sometimes I wonder if it matters what I do. Is there anyone who listen, or am I among the few who see the pain and hear the cry and stop to question why? Rise up and take a stand. Raise your voice, reach out your hand. Be a champion for a child. Speak the words she cannot say. Be the light she's been searching for, and give her strength to find her way. For a moment, stop and wonder, how can they live in fear? What are they telling us that we cannot hear? What do they need to ease their pain? The tears that flow like rain. Rise up and take a stand. Raise your voice, reach out a hand. Be a champion for a child. Speak the words he cannot say. Be the light he's been searching for, and give him strength to find his way. Just think of the changes that we could make, how different our world would be when silence is broken and their voices are heard, when we open our eyes to see. Rise up and take a stand. Raise your voice, reach out a hand. Be a champion for all the children. Speak the words they cannot say. Be the light they've been searching for, and give them strength to find their way. The strength they need to find their way.
Thank you so much for. So the investigators knock on the door, the actors answer the door. They sometimes portray someone who's a little combative, a little aggressive, doesn't want someone coming in especially someone saying that they're DCFS. So often it takes a little while for them to gain entry. Once they get in, they're able to explain why they're there, what the allegations are. For many parents, it might be the first time they've heard such a report has been made. It can be a little unsettling, a lot unsettling for a lot of people. And so then the investigators move in. Usually we have them sitting here. They explain why they're there, and they start to take in what's in the environment. They start looking around to kind of gauge what the environment is like for children. And so sometimes we stage it a little more, with more risk factors involved, so that the investigator needs to start kind of focusing in on, I need to understand or ask what's with the wine bottles, what's with the pill bottles, do you have food in the house, where does the child sleep? Those are the kinds of things that they have to start really zeroing in on.